I just want to talk to you a little bit about what it means to grow in the grace of giving. I have a son who's 14 years old. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. And he's huge. He's a man-child. But if you called his cell phone and by chance you got his voicemail, you would hear his voice prior to the growth spurt. And I walked in my room the other night and my wife was listening to the phone and she was listening to his voicemail because she wanted to hear his voice as a child. I mean, isn't that interesting? There are times with our children, we'd love just to freeze frame them at a point in time and hold them there. And then there's some times we'd probably like to fast forward them and get it quicker. But the point is this, that healthy life presumes growth. Gang, I'm going to challenge you to wrestle with what growth looks like in your life right now. Because as Paul tells us in 2 Corinthians, that as we excel in all these other areas of the Christian life, that we should excel in the grace of giving. And by that he means that we should grow, that we should stretch and grow in the grace of giving in a way that challenges our heart to expand and our faith to be enlarged. So as you come to this meeting tonight, one of the things we want to ask you to do is to say, what does growth look like for me in this campaign, and how will God use me in this? Let me give an example. When I was working with a church in Naples, Florida, Lloyd and Susan were in leadership of that particular campaign, and I met with them early in the campaign process, and Lloyd said that they would give $10,000 to the campaign. And basically all he was going to do was to give it out of his income. And that's a wonderful way to give, and folks, that's a very generous gift for somebody to give. But for Lloyd and Susan, they continued to wrestle with, what does growing in the grace of giving look like in our life? And so as I went back later, I talked to them about how some people don't just give out of income, but they give what's called a gift in kind. And a gift in kind being defined as a marketable asset that you give the item itself to the church. You deduct the fair market value of the item off your tax returns, and you don't have to pay capital gains tax, which you would have done if you'd given the money and not the item to the church. So as I talked to Lloyd, he said, you know what, Doug, I've got some stock from a bank where I'm on the board that I believe that stock's worth about $50,000. I'm going to give that to the campaign. So Lloyd and Susan started with a $10,000 gift. Now they moved to a $60,000 gift simply by trying to grow and to look at different ways to give. And then they started thinking about, well, what are some other ways that we might grow in the grace of giving? And for Susan, a very gifted artist, here's what she decided to do. That she had some art shows that she would have over the 3-year period of time, and then give out of those art shows selling her art, her paintings. And she sort of projected that she probably could raise conservatively about $15,000 doing that. So now their gift is at $75,000. So it started at 10, now it's at 75. And then finally, one morning during the middle of the campaign, Lloyd came downstairs and he looked across the table at the breakfast table with Susan, and she said, how'd you sleep last night? And he said, not very well. He said, I'm really struggling with this. I'm really trying to think through, what does God want us to do with this campaign? And I don't know that we've really touched what sacrifice looks like yet. Again, what is sacrifice? It at least means this: I'm willing to give up something of value to invest in something of greater value. And Lloyd said, I just don't think we're there yet. And Susan said, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I was thinking the same thing. I just didn't think we're there yet. We're still giving, and we're giving generously, but are we giving in a way that we really experience God in the process? Not long after that, Lloyd was sitting in a meeting that he went to. He was part of a group that they would bring in guest speakers into Naples, and it was a kind of an elite thing in the business community. He paid a good bit of money to be a part of this. In fact, Peter Jennings had just come into town to be a part of this, the former ABC anchor before he died. And Lloyd said, I always sat there thinking, this is a great event. It's stimulating intellectually. It's interesting to kind of hear the inside scoop on what is going on in world events and that kind of thing. He said, but as I sat there that night, I couldn't get it out of my head that I'm enjoying this, and my church desperately needs to reach people with the gospel. And is it more important for me to sit here and enjoy this moment, or is it more important for me to sacrificially give to be a part of something that is bigger than me, is bigger than Susan, is bigger than all of us, that people might hear about the gospel of Jesus Christ? And so the $25,000 that Lloyd would have spent on that over the next few years, he took that and he gave it to the campaign. Now his commitment that started at $10,000 is at $100,000. Now, gang, I don't know what it looks like for you. I don't know what growing in the grace of giving means to you. Here's all I'm asking you to do, to wrestle with that now, because as we move into this campaign, we need leaders to lead and to show other people what it means to grow in the grace of giving, to not just do this in mediocre fashion, but to excel in the grace of giving. And that's huge. And if we're going to really do this in a way that honors God, we need people just like you who will grow in the grace of giving. Have a wonderful day, evening. I wish I could be with you. I look forward to seeing you again real soon.